In today's show, we look ahead to Tuesday in the NBA, all of the action, some streaming options for the fantasy playoffs. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia. And you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. We're here to look ahead to Tuesday in the NBA. There are 6 games on. We're going to talk about all of those, plus streaming options, which are vitally important in the fantasy playoffs, which you might be this week. So, Warnie.
Let's get it on, Gilly.
All right, the first game is the Nets and the Hornets. Let's look at Andre Drummond, because at this point, well, not at this point, LaMarcus Aldridge is out. He's got hip impingement. He's had hip problems for a while. This is concerning. Now, Drummond was looking like a drop. He'd played 16, 20, and 17 minutes in the last 3 games. Shithouse. But with Aldridge out, it's going to boost his numbers, and maybe he becomes more of a 12-team league guy. I really doubt that Nick Claxton does, but he does get a boost. So just be aware of him in deeper formats. I also want to watch the Shark, Bruce Brown. Someone tweeted at me today, said, hey, can you stop playing the Baby Shark song? Because if I'm ever listening to the podcast in the car and then Bruce Brown's song comes on, my kid demands that I just play Baby Shark. So you know what, mate? For you today, I'm not going to play the Baby Shark song. Anyway, we want to watch Bruce Brown, who's been playing pretty solidly. I think when Simmons comes back, it's not viable for him to play 30 minutes, and he'll be a clear drop. But for now, yeah, look, I think he's worth it. 33, 33, and 30 the last 2 games. He's going to be up and down for sure. But for the short term, there's 12-team value there. For the Hornets, they are starting PJ Washington at power forward again, I would guess, with Gordon Hayward still out. But Jalen McDaniels might be returning. He's been upgraded to questionable. He hasn't played in like a month plus, for that ankle injury. How they fit him into the rotation will be something to watch. How that impacts Washington, Plumlee, and Harrell will also be pretty intriguing. Washington's the guy there over Plumlee and Harrell, though, in terms of who you want in a 12-teamer. And then earlier today in the over and underperforming show, we talked about LaMelo Ball and how stinky he's been with getting the field goal percentage way down, minutes way down. Again, that's largely because of that 8-minute game against the Cavs a couple of days ago. Let's hope that we get the minutes pushing back up. Let's hope the efficiency pushes back up for LaMelo as well, and we get some big numbers coming from him. For Phoenix, they're taking on the Orlando Magic. They will still be without Devin Booker and Cameron Payne. Of course, Chris Paul also. Jay Crowder, I almost can't play this.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
Because he's just been good every game, and I think we get another good opportunity for that. He should be on a roster in all 12-team leagues. If he's not, you go and grab him. Cameron Payne also. If Cameron Payne is on your waiver wire, please do not let him be there. I am still getting people saying, hey, do I go and add Cam Payne? Like, yes, Cam Payne was an ad a while ago. Pretty clearly an ad a while ago, and he's a clear ad now. Like, I don't know what we're debating here. Like, he's a must-roster player. Let's watch how it all goes. I want to also see Landry Shamet, who can score sometimes. He can hit some threes. Can't do really much else, but there is a role there with no Cam Johnson and no Devin Booker. They need Shamet scoring and shooting, and hopefully he can deliver something that's remotely close to useful. For the Magic, the big fella, Chuma Okeke. It's been frustrating to deal with some of his ups and downs, but the last 2 games without Wendell Carter, he's played 30 and 34 minutes, but Wendell's back. So the last game, before Wendell was sick, Chuma played 17 minutes. Now, 17 minutes does not cut it. So I am eagle-eye watching Chuma Okeke's playing time. Does he play the low 20s minutes? Under 20 minutes? Well, Bumba and Carter get that big playing time? Or does Chuma get it over Bumba? We really need to watch that to see what his value is going to be. Also want to watch Markelle Fultz just because I want him to improve. Not because I think he's a 12-team league guy, because he isn't. If you, for some reason, have Markelle Fultz on your roster and Cameron Payne's on the wire, please switch. There is no reason, I believe, to hold Fultz in 10 or 12 or 14 team leagues. in the playoffs. There's just no need to do that. But let's see if anything changes, especially if Jalen Suggs does miss. He's questionable with an ankle problem. Maybe that can boost Fultz, but they're not going to push him to larger minutes just because someone's hurt. Like, it's all about rehab and recovery for Fultz at this point in the season. The Cavs and the Pacers. No Jarrett Allen with that fractured finger. So who's going to start? Well, there is a potential that Karis LeVert returns. I would think that they would start LeVert and push Markkanen to the 4, but they could keep Markkanen at the 3 and push Kevin Love to the 4, or they could start a Markkanen-Wade 3-4 combination, which sounds shithouse, but they could actually do that. Or they could start the Discman, C.D. Osman, in that position. They started him in the second half, but there's a number of ways they can go. I don't think it'll be Love. I don't think he will start. I think your options are going to be LeVert, Wade, or Osman. If it is Osman and LeVert is out, then there is real value in streaming him in to see what can happen, because there's a real big boost in scoring minutes available there for Chetty. But if LeVert is back, I'd be more hesitant about adding Osman. Kevin Love, he's probably going to go from low 20s in minutes up to mid to high 20s, and that makes him a 12-team must, and I think Lowry is a 12-team must as well. For the Pacers, can Isaiah Jackson stay out of foul trouble for once? That'd be great if he could, and that's maybe a little bit unfair, because last game he played 8 minutes, dreadful. The game before he played 27. So, yes, he did it once. I'm going to need 24 minutes out of him consistently, and the fouls are just a real pain in the ass. I do think that if he does stay out of foul trouble, we're going to get good playing time. We're going to get good production. This is not happening. So let's see how that goes. And also Budrick Hield, who is apparently the best player in the world now. He's not quite, but he's playing 40 minutes a night, which is a lot. And his assist numbers are through the roof compared to where they've been in his career. He's turning into a very well-rounded player. Top 40 fantasy guy, which is honestly not something I really ever thought I'd be saying about Budrick Hield. But here we are. And if I had a place to bet on Buddy Hield being a good assist player, well, I would have lost money. But at BetOnline, I could probably find something like that, because betonline.net is your number one spot for all of your sports betting needs, from odds and totals and player performance props. BetOnline has you covered. It is the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC as well. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. BetOnline is where the game starts. Next game, Pelicans Grizzlies. Disappointing from Jackson Hayes last game. I wonder if Willie Green learned his lesson. And his lesson was, please don't play Billy Hernangomez. Valanciunas fouled out, and Green went to Hernangomez as the backup center over Jackson Hayes. And Nikola Jokic scored 30 points in the fourth quarter in overtime. Billy Hernangomez cannot defend anything. Couldn't defend me, probably. He could, but he couldn't defend me. So let's see if Hayes can push to those 30 minutes. It was disappointing for him to only get 26 last game. He is still, I believe, a 12-team league player, but we're seeing a little, like he's capped out with the ceiling. He's not going to play 32 a night. He's like a 27, 28 guy most nights. And foul trouble's a risk with him too. Well, Herbalife Jones, some of that elite shooting stuff from earlier in the season has fallen off, but defensively he's very, very good. And he's showing some really good fantasy production there. And he does remain, I think, a 12-team league category player. I'm going to put Ja Morant on this list as someone to watch because he's been great this season. We know that, exceeded all of my expectations. But recently, there's been a little bit of a dip in some of his efficiency, whether that's from the field or from the line or sometimes both. It's just been a little dip, like from a guy that was putting up top 15 numbers at one point, top 20. Like we're talking top 40, top 50. So let's see if we can get some of that efficiency back. He was pretty poor against the Rockets, and I'd hope that improves. Steven Adams, on the other hand, has been impressive, like very impressive over the last month especially. Assists are up. In a big scoring game against the Rockets. Minutes have been strong. Is there a way that he can continue that? We hope so, because he's been very, very impressive in that time. Next up is the Bucks and the Thunder. Milwaukee, again, one of the two teams that just have very little to say about. But we do want to watch Grayson Allen, who's played over 30 the last two games. 30-minute Grayson Allen is a 12-team league option. 24-minute is not. Now, was the 30 minutes because we were missing Wes Matthews last game and no George Hill? And if those guys play, where does he fit? We want to watch that. Well, Serge Ibaka played 22 minutes against the Suns. I don't really care for that at all. I don't know why they would do it, but they did. I guess that was just because there was some poor performances in other areas and they just had a bunch of players out. But we want to see what they do with Ibaka. He did have a double-double in that game, but that's really only deeper league stuff. For the Oklahoma City Thunder, it'd be great to get some injury updates because I don't know whether Lou Dort, Isaiah Roby, Kenrich Williams, Ty Jerome, Mike Muscala or Derek Favors are going to play. That impacts a lot with this team. Roby, a late scratch last game with that back injury. Now, I would still be holding Roby, but if he is out this game with a back problem, there's a back-to-back Tuesday, Wednesday, yeah, it might have to drop. In his absence, they started Darius Baisley at center, but it was the incantation, the spell. Thank you to John and a few others who put this nickname into the YouTube comments yesterday and suggested this sound drop for Olivier Sarr.
It's Leviosa, not Leviosa.
Sorry, Hermione. It is Olivier Sarr. Olivier Sarr, who put up some good numbers as a backup center. And they don't have many options. So, maybe the old incantation himself can step up. Also interested in Alexei Pokusevsky, who played good minutes even with Wiggins back. Now, if they are in a situation that Roby's available, will it be Poku or will it be Wiggins that gets the start? That's really key to me, because if Poku starts over Wiggins, he is a definite 12-team league guy. He is worth having for 12s right now. Like, he is a 12-team league player right now. But in the past, when Wiggins has been healthy and Baisley and Roby are starting, Poku plays 18 off the bench, and that's not worth it. But if he starts and plays 27, yeah, let's go. Let's fire up. Clippers Warriors. Let's fire up this one as well. This is the start of a back-to-back for the Clippers and the second half of a back-to-back for the Warriors. We want to watch Isaiah Hartenstein, who's played 22, 23, and 21 minutes the last 3 games. We love that. We love that from Hartenstein. Yes, they've all been double-digit results. 2 wins and a loss, and that's boosted the numbers. Just give him 20 every night, and we'll actually, 14s, we'll love it, and 12 will be okay with it. Let's see what they do in a game, if it's close or not. Well, Marcus Morris continues to struggle. I think he probably is a guy you want to hold. I don't think that I know he's not a high upside player, but he can go on these weird hot streaks where he shoots 47% from 3 and averages 18 points in his top 50 for a couple of weeks. So we want to see whether he can get into that mode, because he is dreadfully bad at the moment. This is the second game of a back-to-back for Golden State. They're resting everybody basically on Tuesday. No Curry, no Wiggins, no Thompson, no Draymond, no Gary Payton, no Wiseman, no Iguodala, maybe no Otto Porter, maybe no Juan Toscano Anderson. So basically everyone's going to be out Monday, but they should all, well, actually not all, some of them should return on Tuesday. Not Draymond, but you might even get James Wiseman making his season debut on Tuesday. I want to watch Klay Thompson, who has been, great to have him back. Impressive that he's made this return 900 days. But for fantasy and on-court production, he's been a little bit disappointing. Inefficiency at times, improving his assist numbers, but just not quite there efficiency-wise. If you're in a desperate situation where there are back-to-backs in a week in a playoffs, he might have to be considered someone that can be dropped and streamed in and out. Maybe. Also watch Kevon Looney, who has continued to be really solid. But if Wiseman does play, what does Looney's role look like? How does that change? How much do they rely on Wiseman? Probably not very much at all. But that is something that we are going to have to pay some level of attention to here. Let's go to look at back-to-backs for the Tuesday, Wednesday. Guys that we can stream in. Remember, though, that Wednesday is a 12-game slate. So if you do stream a Tuesday, Wednesday back-to-back, the players that you add may not actually be useful on the Wednesday. Be aware of that. You can look to Isaiah Hartenstein, Grayson Allen, Batum, Kennard, Cody Martin, Amir Coffey, Jose Alvarado, Serge Ibaka, Landry Shamet. Like, there might be some value in those guys, but again, you might not actually use them on Wednesday. If we're just looking at Tuesday options, Shamet, again, that points and threes with no Booker, no Cam Johnson. He's going to have to take more shots. Hartenstein, Grayson Allen, Kevon Looney, Nico Batum, Cody Martin, Goran Dragic, Devontae Graham, Tyus Jones, and Kyle Anderson. For deeper leagues, we're going with Aaron Holiday, Isaac Okoro, Nick Claxton, Torrey Craig, Serge Ibaka, Alvarado, Amir Coffey, Aaron Wiggins, Badadze, and shout out to the man, Tony Snell. And for points leagues, these guys are all rostered in under 50% of leagues. Isaiah Jackson and Jalen Smith, Trey Mann and Jackson Hayes, Darius Baisley, Landry Shamet, Bruce Brown, Brandon Clark, O'Shea Brissett, and Kevon Looney. And that will do it for me today. Don't forget to follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on the Odyssey app. If you are here on YouTube, why don't you thumb it up? What are you waiting for? Drop a comment down below, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, guys. We are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.